Okay, this is my second part to reading Foster Bailey's Changing Esoteric Values by the Lucis Trust. It used to be called Lucifer Publishing Company. This is a religious organization tied to the United Nations. See right there. Yep. So, and he was a 32nd degree Freemason, which is another one to add on top of the other things that prove the Illuminati is not a conspiracy theory, it's fact. If they want a new world order, it's a fact. So, but anyways, I was reading here on him talking about the occult hierarchy of the planet, led by Sanat Chimera, and how Sanat Chimera, Sanat being an anagram to Satan, and being little Lucifer, if you believe that, you know, whatever. But anyways, this is the, according to Wikipedia, of course. According to the post-1900 publications of Theosophy, Lord Sanat Chimera is an advanced being at the cosmic level of initiation, who is regarded as the Lord or Regent of Earth and of humanity. He is thought to be the head of the spiritual hierarchy on Earth, who dwells in Shambhala, also known as the City of Enoch. According to the adherents to the Ascended Master teaching, Shambhala is a floating city manifested on the etheric plane somewhere above the Gobi Desert in the borderlands of Mongolia. And I think that's just meant to kind of, suck in the dupes and also, I guess, drive away any kind of suspicion, because if some average person hears that, they're like, I don't know, they're like, what the fuck is that? Yeah. They're a bunch of nuts, right? Well, it's esoteric mumbo jumbo. Anyways, he's often referred to as an ascended master. The Great White Brotherhood is a spiritual fraternity of ascended beings, which was founded by and is still directed by Lord Sanat Chimera. So, these authors believe that Lord Sanat Chimera is the founder of the Great White Brotherhood, which is composed of masters of the ancient wisdom and volunteers from other worlds who have joined to advance spiritual evolution on Earth. Here's on Blavatsky. Sanat Chimera was mentioned briefly by the theosophist Helena Blavatsky. She claimed he belonged to a group of beings, the, quote, Lords of the Flame, unquote, whom Christian tradition has presented as Lucifer and the fallen angels. Taken from the Secret Doctrine, the Synthesis of Science, Religion, and Philosophy, Theosophical Publishing House, 1888, Volume 2, page 243. So, yeah. So you can read all that in the article concerning Sanat Chimera. There's different, of course, theories on whatever. It's just New Age stuff. But anyways, I was on page 33 of Changing Esoteric Values, Foster Bailey, and I'll give you the year of this book. The year that this book came out, 1955, first published in Great Britain. So, quote, this mental stimulus was applied to humanity according to the plan. Humanity did not create it or apply it. Humanity responded to it, and it is now our birthright to use it for the spiritual welfare of all mankind. We need therefore to consider anew and more deeply, with more daring and free from our ancient thought patterns and orthodoxies, what the destiny of humanity really is. Those who have knowledge have responsibility, and if they step forward, they have the power. The esotericists have the knowledge. No matter how terrible the mistakes made by humanity, no matter how agonizing in terms of physical suffering may be the result of human ignorance, the hierarchy cannot step in and set it right. It is our birthright to achieve in our own strength and to learn by experience. Experience means nothing unless we have something against which we can intelligently measure the values of that experience. All that we know is by comparison, unquote. This is the essential reason why, when the occult hierarchy of the planet was founded, it was determined by the hierarchy that it was necessary to develop human consciousness to the point where it could recognize the duality, which is a peculiar characteristic of this planet. Therefore, gradually, humanity learned that there is light and dark, positive and negative, constructive and destructive, right and wrong, holiness and sinfulness, and all pairs of opposites. And, as the poet Browning so truly expressed it, quote, "When man has learned by the means of evil that good is best," unquote, then shall we emerge into the spiritual light. As we look around today, and many of us are old enough to have the memory of 2 ghastly world wars, we see the world hungry for peace. We recognize that the goal is essentially the mastery of this problem of duality. Competition, whether it be between religions or ideologies or economically for pounds, sterling, and dollars, is contrary to the plan. What we need is cooperation for the good of the whole. Now, socialist and humanistic literature, whatever, collectivism, always uses that very same language. We needed a new system in place, one that is less concerned about the individual as much as the whole, and for the whole to cooperate in sharing the resources, and all that, sounds nice on the surface, and it's meant to sound nice on the surface, but it's just deception. It's all about enslaving us. What we need is cooperation for the good of the whole, and to see that the whole now means the whole world. Doing what we deem good for one nation is not really good even for that nation if it is not good for the world. What the Christ is concerned with is humanity. And again, that's really not the Christ of the New Testament. So, it is the lifting of humanity in terms of consciousness and of understanding of the real values of life, which is the important thing. To that the hierarchy is dedicated. The hierarchy is dedicated. The Christ and the masters of the wisdom are interested in the people in Great Britain, for example, just insofar as the quality of this group of people in the human family, which we call Britons, is usable for the furtherance of the plans of Santa Chimera, or Satan. I'm adding that in, or Satan. But notice he's like, they're not interested in them per se. They're using them. They're using them if they're usable for the plan. That does not belittle Britons. It exalts them. They are just as much interested in the Russians, the Chinese, the Indians, and in the people in the United States of America for exactly the same reason to the same extent. So they're using everybody. The occult hierarchy of the planet functions in a way which is a bit analogous to the way any great international powerful corporation functions in the world today. As the hierarchy looks over the human family and the condition of the great massive human units, they decide whether or not it is wise and reasonably possible to get results if they make a move in a certain race or nation or class of people. If they judge that the time is ripe, and if they have available, trained, intelligent disciples through whom they can work, they take on a spiritual project, and in doing so, they measure all the rational common sense factors that are involved. This has happened in Africa, in China, and in Russia. What did we see during that period in China and Russia? Well, the communists take over in China and Russia. Of course, I need to look up in Africa. I don't know off the top of my head, but if an international business concern decides to undertake expansion and investment in a new part of the world, they have to have the capital, they have to have the personnel, they have to study the problems involved, they have to lay their plans so that an investment of so many millions will, in a certain number of years, produce sufficient profits to justify it. They are under the necessity of adjusting their developments to the existing government, whatever it may be, good or bad, in that part of the world in which they are proposing to operate. They study the people and the language, as well as sources of raw materials, availability, and quality of labor and transport problems. They send out scouts, and they test the reactions to their plans. They test the reactions to their plans. I think that's what they're kind of doing right now with this crisis, supposedly. That's been happening for the past year and a half. And the drama with the vaccines and everything, they've been doing that for years. But anyways, finally, when they are ready, they move forward. So the hierarchy functions like that. They are interested in the state of consciousness of the people of Britain, of the people of America, the people of France. They are intensely interested that the results of 2 world wars will demonstrate a changed condition in the consciousness of the German people. On my other channel, with my name, titled Alan Bradwell, my main channel, I have a video on there called Hellstorm. What the Allies did to the German people, including the communists in Russia. They just did the most horrible things to those people. They completely destroyed their cities. They raped and tortured their women, particularly the Russian, armies. And they utterly destroyed Germany. So, of course, the hierarchy, that was part of the plans of the hierarchy, to do that to the German people so that it'll change their consciousness. It appears that what he's saying here then. During this time, most people weren't really aware here in the States because of all the propaganda of what really happened to the German people. Hitler was just a puppet of theirs that was acted as kind of a controlled opposition, or something that they could use as an excuse to finally go in and completely destroy Germany. That's my opinion. Michael Hoffman actually did a pretty good book on Hitler, Enemy of the German People, where he actually lays that out. And I thought about that before I got that book, but that's what got me interested in finding something, and that's what I found on Amazon that helps verify that theory. I do, to this day, think that that's obviously the purpose of controlled opposition even today. Destroy their enemy destroy the opposition by falsely leading it, using a wolf in sheep's clothes to lead a supposed opposition, and then playing the Judas and setting up that opposition to fail and be utterly destroyed. That's why we got to be careful with most of the people we listen to these days. We can listen to them for the truth and for information, but beyond that, I don't think they're trustworthy anymore, anyone, unless they've been tested and demonstrated to be trustworthy. Alex Jones really isn't, even though I'll listen to him still sometimes for his information and news, some of the people he has on there, and I'll look up and investigate the things that he's saying. But besides that, I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him, and with how big he is, you couldn't throw him very far at all. So, in other words, he's not one to trust. So, anyways, I'm going on different subjects here, but I'll continue reading here. So he was just talking about how the hierarchy are intensely interested that the results of 2 world wars will demonstrate a changed condition in the consciousness of the German people. They study not the question of how many automobiles per head the people have, which is not an important matter, but they study the quality of the intelligence of the people in these nations who wield the influence and the factors which control the basic trends in those nations. They know that it is essential to relieve humanity from fear and from misery, from disease and starvation, by bringing in a small world socialist system. I'm adding that in. The people they seek to aid must be able to respond to the increasing power of the mind in a constructive way instead of in a competitive, selfish, and cruel way. Now, that's a little sneaky collectivist socialist language, because if you read communism, especially today, they refer to our capitalist system as competitive, selfish, and cold. That's what they regard our capitalist system. So look out for those words when you're reading stuff like this, when they're talking about our system, when they're saying it's competitive, it's selfish. They're not out now calling for a socialist government, but they're using those little they're sneaking it in through by using those terms like that, referring to our system as competitive and selfish. They look for individual people in these countries who are sufficiently evolved so that they are spiritually impressionable. They then offer these people opportunities of service, give them spiritual stimulation, and make practical ideas available to them so that they may take more wise action according to the worldwide plan than they otherwise could take, but they are always left free. The closer we get to the condition where we can be influenced by a master of the wisdom, the more free we are. They cannot, under any circumstances, control us. They can open doors for us. They can display the vision for us. They can open our minds to spiritual values. That is why the modern revival of what we recognize as totalitarianism and dictatorship is so utterly subversive and contrary to the plan. The evil confronting us from the standpoint of the hierarchy is not capitalism, socialism, or communism. It is totalitarianism. We have totalitarianism in the religious field and in the educational field also. So, again, be careful when you're reading their stuff. Be discerning. Don't just take this paragraph as, oh, okay, so he's not for totalitarianism. What do you, their version of totalitarianism, like I said, if it's against the plan, and what's the plan? A world socialist government. The hierarchy is interested in these sort of things. They are constantly observing the trends that are emerging in human consciousness and thoughts, and they lay their plans long in advance. I'll repeat that. They lay their plans long in advance. They have a marvelous capacity for timing their action, and they are extremely practical men. Within the limits of the spiritual law by which they are bound, and by which the Christ is bound, they do their utmost in this process of aiding humanity to save itself. They come occasionally to very far-reaching and fundamental decisions. Then the higher initiates and all the accepted disciples who are conscious of their link with the Master are impregnated with that vision and purpose and go to work. Our Western civilization is cursed with lack of spiritual vision because we have focused our intellect on material things, and it is hoped by the hierarchy that the British people might succeed in consciously giving their allegiance to non-material values. As the late Dean Igny said, quote, "It is questionable whether God intended that the Englishman should be a money-making animal," unquote. With the results of the mingling of the many peoples of the world in the United States and their natural desire for good things for everybody, America can be an effective partner with Great Britain in world welfare. The three great groups who have the ultimate destiny of our Western world, and therefore the planet, in their hands are the Russian peoples, the British and Commonwealth peoples, and the Americans. Russia has but to change her vision of what is best for humanity all over the world, and that great, long-suffering, hard-working, idealistic people will join constructively in championing world welfare. Okay, world welfare. The condition in Russia today is one of the best examples we have of how the hierarchy works with masses of people. And what was the condition in Russia in the 50s? Wasn't it totalitarianism? The condition in Russia today, yeah, that was back in the 50s. That would be totalitarian communism, whatever. He's saying it's one of the best examples of how we have the hierarchy works with masses of people, and that is the reason for bringing it forward here. It has not been very many years since this great mass of millions upon millions of people in Russia, with their many languages and diversities, were perfectly helpless, and education of the masses was practically unknown. Poverty was rife, hopelessness, injustice, suffering, disease was the common lot. The religion of the land was holding them down instead of lifting them up, and inevitably there was a revolt against it. And so we Christians say, claiming he's a Christian, that's funny, quote, "They are killing religion, isn't it terrible," unquote. And as Christians we condemn them, which is unchristian of us. It was the occult hierarchy, as they considered world conditions, which decided to direct a considerable stream of the available vitalizing influences of the New Age spiritual force into the Russian peoples. Listen to this. It was a great spiritual experiment. And what is he talking about here? All those revolutions in Russia? The religion of the land, Christianity, was holding Russia down, and It was unchristian to say they are killing religion. How did they kill religion? They tore down churches and put a lot of the Christians in the gulag. That's unchristian to say that was a bad thing? Is that what that guy was saying here on page 37? And it was a great spiritual experiment. They studied the situation, measured its possibilities, decided that it was worthwhile. So he's admitting that the occult hierarchy here, the adepts, basically the Illuminati, was behind the Russian communist revolutions here. It was a great spiritual experiment. They could see the destiny of those Russian people and the part that they could play and would play in the end in the human family once they could respond to the new spiritual note. They sent disciples into Russia and focused their thought power on Russia, and Russia was stirred to its very depth by the New Age forces coming in. Just read that whole page, and it's right there. I got those of you who know my channel, you know I mark. See, this is why I believe in reading. If I don't know of this lighting on my phone here, if you can't read it, I'm going to check the video out as soon as I upload it. But if I can't, if it's a hard time reading it, I certainly will with my next video because I'm using another tablet where it's readable. And I'll also put it down on my comment section if you want to read that just for a few more. Yeah, I mean, that's something else, I think. I think that's, again, it's proof that, it's that you have a Freemason here. He was also in, connected to the United Nations, which, proves that it's Luciferian. Admitting that they sent disciples into Russia and stirred Russia, and that these Russian communist revolutions were, quote unquote, a great spiritual experiment. Really? A lot of people dead, tortured in the gulags, churches torn down. You can look up the whole history under Stalin. I mean, I don't have it all on the top of my head, but millions of Russians starving. Or Stalin's, program, what the hell was it, where he basically starved out all those farmers. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was a great spiritual experiment, yeah. But of course, again, I'll just read on because he'll start to say, well, the totalitarianism today isn't, but that's what they always do. The totalitarianism today isn't good, even though this is what they always do. They go and they stir up a revolution. It turns out to be shit, and many people massacred and killed, and the blood running, and then they come out like, well, we didn't intend to do that. But then while they're saying that, they're saying it was a great spiritual experiment. How deluded can he be? These forces were so new and still are that many people did not recognize them as useful or as spiritual in origin. In an amazingly short period of time where millions of people have achieved a chance of their own spiritual birthright as sons of men on this planet, and through anything that has been tried that we know anything about in the record of our recent civilized history. The hierarchical experiment with the people of Russia stands today as a great spiritual success, in spite of the fact that the civilization in that great country and its people are now crucified by those who, because of the stimulant, fell afoul of the Messiah complex, saw opportunity for themselves and had a thirst for power. So there you go again. They're saying how great it was, but yeah, we don't agree with the tyranny of it today, but that's just bullshit. On the outside, in practical operations, and therefore in its effect on other nations of the world, the experiment went astray. See there. It was a great spiritual experiment, but it went astray. And that is our trouble, but more trouble for the Russians than for us. So my time's almost done here. So I think I'll call it quits for tonight. I am getting a little bit tired. But this is what I'm going to be reading here. And trust me, it took me work to read these books, because honestly, a lot of these Lucis Trust books, it takes a lot, because just the way they wrote it. I think it was intended so many people will shy away from researching this stuff, but it has to take my will to make myself go and read this shit. Because honestly, a lot of it, in the mix of finding, incriminating quotes that you could use against the elites and the agenda, you have in the midst of it a lot of boring mumbo jumbo bullshit. That's really what it is. And for the people that join these New Age cults still to this day, they're just like the low-level Freemasons and all the other low-level... I don't want to call people idiots. I guess deceit. But how can you be a part of an organization when it's admitted in the own publications of your organization that you don't know anything of what you're into, and you don't basically are lied to? It's what Albert Pike said in Morals and Dogma, that the lower level dupes are lied to until they get to the top. What moron would want to be a part of that? You'd have to be a frickin' idiot. And so I'll never understand that. I have in-laws that we went to one of their gatherings, and it was in Illinois, and my wife's uncle or whatever, I guess she hardly knew him, we hardly see this side of our family. But we went over there, and we were having a cookout, and my mother-in-law was talking to him, and I wasn't there to hear it, but she had told me that he told her that him and his son are third-degree Freemasons, and how it's a great thing, and these Freemasons are part of some motorcycle charity group or something. And it was like, well, that's the furthest we're gonna go. It's like, why the fuck would you want to if you're basically in the dark and ignorant of the very group that you're in, or something, or that you feel like you don't want to progress into it. Why are you a part of it? I guess I just don't understand that. Why? You don't have to be a part of that to be a part of some charity or to be cool. I don't know. But anyways, there's a lot of dupes out there that are, I guess they're never short of fools. Well, this is it. Have a good night, and I'll make some more videos tomorrow. Take care.